Joining us now on the Malzberg panel, we welcome in Rick Ungar, senior political contributor for Forbes.com and co-host of Steele Ungar on SiriusXM, and Seton Motley, founder of Less Government, lessgovernment.org. Okay, let's talk about this, which made news yesterday, and people are still talking about it today. Let's watch Tom DeLay.
Well, Steve, I have friends that are in the FBI, and they tell me they're ready to indict. They're ready to recommend an indictment. And they also say that if the Attorney General does not indict, they're going public.
Okay, so Rick, what do you think?
Well, look, I mean, I got to tell you, I got excoriated yesterday on the radio for pointing out that I'm hearing the same thing. You know, this is not a question at this point of Democrat versus Republican. This is a question of, is this or is this not going to happen? I, too, have some friends in certain places that are telling me something, I have to say, very similar to what Tom DeLay told you yesterday. But you don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I do hope if it's going to happen or not going to happen, that we get there quickly.
Seton, I'd love to say some of my best friends are FBI agents. Unfortunately, that's not true. But what are you hearing and what do you think is going to happen?
Do they get me out of speeding tickets? I'd be shocked if she's not indicted, but not until after Super Tuesday. These guys, these career FBI guys are non-political. They're not hacks, and they take their jobs seriously. They dedicate their lives to this. They put their lives in danger for this in many instances, and they're fed up. They've had it with this much evidence piling up and no indictment. I can't imagine any other case where this much evidence would come in and there wouldn't be some sort of actual formal move to deal with the person in question. There hasn't been because she's the Democrat presidential leading nominee. Something should happen soon, based on law.
The only thing I'll say to Seton, and I take his points, I do, but remember, you know, I'm a lawyer, and the funny thing about evidence is until you actually know and see what it is, you don't really know. So I've been a little bit skeptical about the evidence all along.
Look, if these guys are saying we're going to make a public stink if there's no indictment, they've seen the evidence and they're making a
if they're really saying that. That's right.
Well, let me ask you, Rick. Let's say Hillary gets indicted, she has to drop out of the race. Bernie Sanders is now leading in Iowa, in New Hampshire, and many people, you know, he's close nationally. So you would think, common sense or not common sense, that Bernie Sanders would then ride to the nomination. No. But no, Joe Biden will come in, and if he does, and if he's anointed by the delegates and the super delegates, what's this going to do to all the millions of Bernie Sanders supporters that'll be up in arms?
Well, you have to remember, I mean, Bernie Sanders is obviously doing well in Iowa. We'll see if he wins. Very well in New Hampshire. But I think those of us who follow this pretty much anticipate that he will hit a wall when he gets to South Carolina, one that will only get more difficult for him as he goes through the South. So while he is popular, I like Bernie Sanders. What's not to like?
One pair of underwear puts on a radiator.
He's a socialist. But I think that the Democratic Party is not ready for him to be the nominee. And I agree with what you just said. I think if Hillary gets in this kind of trouble, Joe Biden will jump in.
Seton?
Well, I see the Democrat Party wanting anybody but Sanders. The voters want anybody but Clinton. And he's right, there's a firewall with predominantly black voters in the South. But they are starting to move towards Sanders. And if that does start to happen to some degree, he's so far ahead with other demographics, it would get really interesting. And then their convention would be not just brokered, but broken.
Okay, Jerry Falwell Jr. Endorsing Donald Trump today, Rick. A pretty big deal.
A very big deal. Look, I mean, what can you say about Donald Trump? The guy goes down to Falwell's University with the evangelicals. He screws up everything that he has to say about the Bible, misquotes it, and he goes up 5 points with evangelicals. It's part of being Donald Trump, I guess.
Seton, again, it takes the statement where he said, you know, if I stood on Fifth Avenue and shot somebody, I wouldn't lose any support. And the CNN poll out today, which has him at over 40% nationally, shows that 70% of his support said they're definite. They're not changing no matter what.
It depends on who he shoots.
But he also said that was tongue-in-cheek today, but go ahead.
Yes, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I think 80% of his rock-ribbed, unwavering support is due to the fact that he took an alleged third rail in politics, immigration enforcement, and de-electrified it. And because he did that, he's got support that will ride with him till the end of times, because this has been an issue for decades for the Republican base and a lot of Democrats, a lot of blue-collar Democrats, and nobody in D.C. would touch it.
All right,
He parachutes in and drops it,
Fine.
and it's going to be him forever.
Final word, Rick, 10 seconds.
Yeah, I actually agree a lot with what Seton said, except I don't think there are any more third rails. I think those days are over, but he definitely said what they wanted to hear on immigration.
Seton and Rick, thank you both very much. Folks, we're taking your phone calls next. If you want to talk to me live on the show, call 877-NEWSMAX. That's 877-639-7629. Start dialing.